Hi, folks. Here we are with another interview, rather a presentation, if you will. In discussions I had with Stefan, we really wanted to get Adrian to talk about Danube Delta. There is definitely an anticipation to learn more about it. So here we are. We'll start today to talk about, and essentially, I understand that we'll take it from the top. We'll have a little bit of a description of the place, essentially the kind of birds we're going to photograph. What essentially answering the question, what is an experience of somebody who wants to go and photograph at Danube Delta under the guidance of Adrian? That's essentially the question. So let you go ahead, Adrian. Welcome again, sir.
Thank you, Admir. Thank you for the opportunity to let you know a lot of interesting things about Danube Delta. And after that, we'll talk about the ideas I have for this year. Okay?
Good.
So, after crossing the bordering 10 countries for 2,860 kilometers, the second longest river of Europe, the Danube, finds its rest on the shores of the Black Sea, shaping here Europe's largest and best preserved delta, the Danube Delta. For 6,000 years now, 16,000 years now, the Danube carries along various silts by means of which it continuously builds Europe's youngest piece of land. The delta are increases annually by 40 square meters, so you'll find a perpetually changing magnificence of nature. 80% of its surface is on Romanian land, the rest of 20% lying on the Ukrainian side. As Europe's largest river delta wetland and the third richest biosphere reservation in the world in terms of biodiversity, the 6,264 square kilometers Danube Delta became part of the UNESCO World Heritage since 1991, the only delta in the world entirely included. On the realm encompassed by the three Danubes Arb, Kilia, Sulina, and St. George, you'll find a little-known paradise, a living museum of biodiversity for the 320 bird species, 44 mammal species, 10 amphibian species, 11 reptile species, 91 mollusk species, over 2,440 insect species, more than 1,833 and plant species, and so many more unique wonders. It holds the third place in the world in number of plants, animal, birds, insects, amphibians, crustaceans, snails, and mollusks after the Galapagos and the Australian Great Barrier Reef. Many of them were declared unique species and natural wonders. The area is of universal significance for the nesting of major colony of great white pelicans, the pygmy cormorant, the Dalmatian pelican, Eurasian spoonbill, white-tailed eagle, common buzzard, long-legged buzzard, marsh harrier, Montagu's harrier, sparrowhawk, Eurasian jay, the common shelduck, the ruddy shelduck, the great reed warbler, birded thrilling. It's also the resting place of many migratory species such as the great egret, the little egret, the white stork, the mute swan, the tundra swan, the gray heron, night heron, yellow heron, saker falcon, roller, European beater, the ferruginous duck, redshank, hoopoe, black-tailed godwit, spotted redshank, lapwing, stone curlew, avocets, black-winged stilt, oyster catcher, glossy ibis, spoonbill, purple heron, Slavonian grebe, little.
Lots.
There are a lot of species. European Saint Martin, almost the entire population of red-breasted goose, which is a globally endangered species, and so many more. A special mention must be made for the much desired star of the photographers, the bird selected as a symbol of the Romanian Ornithology Society, the common kingfisher.
Ah, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yes. Hundreds of flamingos have been spotted in the last couple of years after decades of absence. They thrive here in Europe's largest redbed area, 1,750 square kilometers, and in the labyrinth of intricate canals. Many of them are endangered in other parts of the world, so this is the place where you have the highest chance to admire them more than anywhere else. Among the mammals, you can meet the Eurasian otter, the European mink, the European badger, the little ermine, the wildcat, the common raccoon dog, the golden jackal, the roe deer, and the wild boar. You might want to pay attention to the meadow viper when you are traveling through the hills, for example. You'll also find here the rare sand forests and also the northernmost subtropical forest regions in Leta Forest, where thousands of wild horses run free, and the Karamand Forest with its secular oaks embraced by twisted vines. The oldest one, the knelled oak, has 4-meter diameter and 30-meter height. There are also mixed forests of poplars, alders, elm trees, ash trees, shrubs, and wild vines. You'll particularly love the groves of willow trees bordering the waterways on many of the delta's canals as you sail peacefully in a boat among white and yellow water lilies. So mainly, this is a description of what you can find in Danube Delta. We can talk much more about what we can find there, but I think that this is the interesting part for a wildlife photographer and for nature lovers. So, Edmir, as you know, in Romania, I'm a photography teacher. For 14 years now, I manage the biggest photography school in Bucharest, which is the capital of Romania. And for plenty of years, I organize for my students, and not only for photographers from Romania, a lot of photography tours for landscape photography and also wildlife photography. So in Danube Delta, I have already organized tens of workshops and wildlife photography tours. So it came to me the idea to organize wildlife photography tours for wildlife photographers from abroad, for foreign photographers, but in an let's say an unusual way, because we are not talking only about wildlife photography tours here. What I mean, you know, all around Europe, there are public heights where you can go there and sit on a chair, point and shoot some birds or animals. This is not my idea of what wildlife photography means, because, you know, as I told you before in our previous discussions, photography is about yourself, not about what are you photographing. What does it mean? You have to love the process, not the result itself. So when you go to a public height, when I go to a public height, I don't have that excitement that I'm involved in the process. I'm preparing everything. I'm trying to find the right spot, the right point of shooting, the right light. I do not prepare everything for shooting, so I'm just sitting there and shoot. So I don't like, personally, I don't enjoy this kind of activity. So In my tours, I want to involve people in what we are doing there. We'll not only explore the wilderness of Danube Delta, but when I'm talking about shooting from heights, I will involve people. I will create briefing brainstorming sessions in order to discuss about where to put the heights, how it will be the light, to calculate where to have the background, what distance to have between the heights and the place where birds will come to attract them. So everybody will be involved in the process, because I observed in time that when people are involved in what they are doing, they will enjoy much more the results. They'll be satisfied that there is their contribution to their results, not that sit there on a chair and shoot. So it will be 3 types of wildlife photography tours. We have 4 days of wildlife photography tours with 3 nights, with 1 day for floating height photography. Will be another choice will be 5 days. It still means 5 nights with 2 days for floating height photography, and 6 days and 5 nights with 3 days of floating height photography. In the other days, we'll navigate by small boats through the wilderness of Danube Delta on the canals and beautiful wild lakes to find all kind of wild birds, as I told you before. The accommodation will be in a cozy street art guest house located in Mahmudia, a small city placed right near the St. George arm of Danube. The participants will benefit from full board based mainly on Romanian traditional fish dishes, of course, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I can guarantee you that everybody will love the food. It's great. Each participant will be accommodated in a single room. The wildlife photography tours will also include photography workshops where we'll discuss about technique, composition, editing, workflow, and we'll comment the images taken during the day, how to create custom setups to attract birds for having the best photographic approach, floating height and tent height photography at sunrise and sunset. Here I use 2 kind of professional floating heights, Mr. Jan floating height and Skatech floating height, and also photo height Aquila Mark II for tent heights. If you want, I can show you some pictures with tents. Okay, just a moment. I think that
while you are about to show this, I'd like to do a summary of what I understood in a way that hopefully folks will understand the same thing. So you started with a very rich description of the Danube Delta. Thank you for doing that. Yes. I think it was very educational. And talking about educational, I think you also talk about your philosophy of this tour guide that we, experience that folks who will come there will have. So I appreciate that I can see that you as an educator, you're wanting to do more and just not to photograph, but also get into the spirit of wildlife photography with respect to how you see it. So I appreciate your philosophy to that. I'm very grateful to have had the chance to have spoken with you. So I feel very enriched by your vision, per se, with the school and with this tours that you offer. But essentially, you were very good also at describing a little bit of the situation of where people will stay. And so, and I just want to make sure that if folks will have questions, anything, they can ask it. I mean, they can simply just comment, and then we can just, I mean, you're very open to answer, so that's good.
Ricardo, what you say, in these tours we'll have with us an ornithologist.
Okay.
Knows the Danube Delta very well, and he knows exactly where to go to find some rare species without disturbing them from the nest. That's why, because my idea to organize the first tour is for a period even in May, between 25 up to 30 on May.
Okay.
This time is perfect because it's right after the breeding season, so you have chance to take photographs with birds, also with babies.
With the chicks, right?
But it's also important to not disturb birds at the nest, so that's why an ornithologist with us, it's very important to have. Also, the owner of the guest house is very passionate by wildlife photography. Actually, he was my student, so he's deeply involved in this activity, and all the time we have brainstorm sessions in order to make it more enjoyable and also challenging for the participants, not only for this tour, but also for my students. So in this tour, we'll know exactly where to go. We'll just not stay on the water trying to be lucky to find some birds. We'll know exactly where to go to find specific birds. The beauty of Danube Delta is that every day is different in that environment. You know, in the same spot, in the same location, in different day, you can find different birds. All the day are different, so it is almost impossible to get bored there. Because people sometimes think, okay, but I don't know, 2 days or 3 days on the boat, or where we'll go, we'll see, we'll visit different location to find different birds. We can stay even in the same location, because the environment, the landscape in terms of wild birds is changing permanently. So the last worries is that you'll not find birds there. Okay. I'm trying to show
show
here,
some of this picture.
the images. I'll stop sharing the screen for one moment in order to activate the images with heights. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, sure. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
Please.
no worries.
Okay, just one moment. Where is that?
Thank you for being so descriptive, by the way. I feel like I'm like, when you talk about it, because you also are very passionate, and that comes through it's very obvious. It's awesome.
I really am, actually. I really am.
Yeah.
So I think now you see the images. Okay, you see the images?
Yeah, I do. Yes, I do. They are small right now. They are small right now. They still on thumbnails.
Sorry.
Yeah,
sorry.
it's all right.
Maybe just a moment.
All right.
Okay. Now I think it's okay.
Yes, sir.
This is Aquila Mark II at height. It can accommodate 2 persons, as you can see. The nice part is that you can choose a different point of shooting. As you can see, you can choose a very low level point of shooting. We have 2 small windows almost at the ground level, and also we have a higher point of shooting. You can you have enough place even with very big lenses like 600 millimeters f4 or 500 millimeters. So even the biggest guy with the biggest lens will accommodate very okay in this kind of tent. As you can see, there are snoots in the windows in order to be well camouflated in front of the birds. Okay, this is with all the windows opens. And this is the floating height.
Right.
This is a professional floating height. It's very narrow in the front, so you can easily walk through vegetation in the water. You have, as you can see, there are 3 windows camouflated, and I'll show you from the inside. This is an image from inside. You see there are 2 neoprene parts where you can rest your arms in order to be very comfortable when you stay in the water. On the left side and the right side, there are 2 windows which can be flipped up to see the environment around you, and there is also another window right over your camera, where the place where you'll accommodate your camera, will put your camera on the gimbal in order to see what is in front of you. This kind of floating heights are very easy to set up. Actually, in 2 minutes, they are ready to go in the water, and it can sustain a person around 120 kilograms. So I think that will not be a problem for the most of the people. There are 2 pockets water sealed where you can put your phone and something else. Here in the back left side, as you can see, there is a hole where you can put a small bottle of water, because when you stay in the water for 2 or 3 hours or even more, you'll get thirsty. All the floating heights will have a gimbal for the camera, so each participant does not have to get with him any kind of gimbal, only the camera and the lens, and that's all. You can stay even it's a rainy day in the water, there is no problem. Here you see there is an image on the side. You can see now the window is covered, but there is a system you can flip up the window to see what is around you. And also there are here a few, I don't know how to say in English, there is a system to put some vegetation over the tent in order to be camouflated in the background better, to be a part of the natural environment, you know. So for each participant will be a floating height. Actually, in the days when we'll go to shoot from floating heights, the group will be split in 2 parts, because, you know, for example, my idea is to have groups around 6 up to 8 people. And in this situation, it's not okay to go in the water with 8 floating heights, because you'll disturb the birds. You'll be too invasive the environment. So if the group will be about 8 people, 4 people will go with the floating heights, and the 4 people will go with tent heights to shoot different birds on the land. And we'll switch the group. For example, 4 people will go at the sunrise with floating heights, 4 people with tents. At the sunset, we'll switch the groups in order all the people to shoot also from floating heights, and also to participate to the heightened setups. Of course, there is another accessory you need in order to shoot from a floating height. We are talking about waders. Personally, I use dry suits, because it's better when you want to walk in deep water. And the dry suit, it's up to your neck, so the water can come. But when I'm organizing this kind of tour, it's almost impossible to have dry suits for everyone, because first of all, they are very expensive, and it's also impossible to have the right sizes for everyone.
True, true. That's a good
So
point.
here will be that there are two choices. One choice, each people to come with waders, their own waders, or from a small cost, I can order waders for each person if I get the size for everyone. Some people says, okay, it's not okay to go into the water with waders, because if you are not careful enough, the water can come inside the waders, and
I read the comment too. Yeah.
yes, of course, there is
That's a
this
good point. Yeah.
possibility, but we'll talk about a lot in the evening before shooting from floating heights. And most of the time, I'll advise people to move very slow, to don't be in a hurry when we are moving in the water, in the floating height, because if you are not moving very slowly, the birds will see you, and you'll scare the birds. So if you are care enough, it will not be a problem. Anyway, we will go on the lakes where the water is not so deep, so it will not be a problem. It just, you have just to be careful when you lean over the camera, because if you stay too low, yes, there is a small chance the water come inside the waders. But until now, there was only one problem with only one person who was in a hurry to take some photos, so he was moving very fast in the water, and of course when you do this, the result is some water entering in your pants.
All right. So you have to listen to the instructions that you'll share. Of course, that's
Exactly,
important,
exactly.
right?
But I can tell you that shooting from a floating height, it's an amazing experience, because you have the opportunity to come very close to the birds, to observe the birds in their natural environments. And when the people goes to kill, to hunt, to bring
Yeah.
food to their babies, how they interact with
Great.
their babies, it's wonderful, it's
Sure.
wonderful.
I'm familiar with the floating heights from Granit, our friend from Peja, Kosovo. He has his own personal. But also, I am familiar with the conversation we had with Bridget. She went in Spain, and we had a short interview about her experience. So, in both cases, although it's challenging, it could be challenging. But if you have the right guidance, which I trust confidently that you'll share with us,
Of
this
course.
is a great experience. And then now the POV, it's very important on this type of photography, getting closer. And I learned that they're not bothered at all when you are into this, correct? The
Yes.
bird, correct. You see, that's interesting though,
The
that you
key,
can get closer. It's
the,
amazing.
the, the key to floating height photography
Yeah.
is to be very patient, to move very slowly. And if you are moving very slowly, for example, I don't know, 1 meter, 2 meters in 2 minutes, and you think, oh, it's quite slow. Yes, but you stay near the vegetation where all the birds have the nests. So if you are patient enough, the birds will come very close to you. So most of the time people make some mistakes. They are trying to get closer to the birds. They are in a hurry, and in that moment you get the opposite reaction. The birds will fly or will be scared, or you'll enter in their intimate area. So
Correct,
this will,
correct, right.
so if you must be patient enough. Okay, the birds will be there, will come there, because it's their environment. So it's not a problem.
That's great.
But we'll discuss everything. We will discuss how to move, how to react, what to do if something happened. I don't know your how to move through the vegetation, so on and so on. I can guarantee you that after our after the first evening, the first training session, everybody will be prepared and will know exactly what to do in order to get the best images. I want to point out again something.
Okay.
These are not commercial tours. I'm doing this in order to raise up the passion for what wildlife photography means, to get people involved in what they are doing. Okay, because this is the only way you can start loving wildlife photography. It's about being there in the nature, observing, not to stay 5 minutes or 2 hours in the same place, because you cannot change the light, you cannot change anything, just sit in a chair and shoot. No, here, for example, in one day we'll put the heights in a location with a specific light. In another day we'll change the location of the height. We'll try a different setup. People will see what it happened when the light is from a side or from the back of the subject or from the back of your tent. I don't know if I used the right word. So everything will change, everything all the time, to get together more experience in different situations with different setups. And another important thing, at these tours, people will learn how to create their custom setup at home in order to attract birds. Because as I was speaking with Stefan on Wildlife Europe, he commented on my image a few days ago. Wildlife photography, actually, the art of wildlife photography is not the challenge to, I don't know, shoot rare birds. Of course, it will be a great reward to shoot some rare birds. But the art of wildlife photography is to get the best image possible to any kind of bird, to each bird, even it's a common bird, to get the best approach, the best point of shooting, the best light, the best composition, so on and so on.
Awesome, awesome. And I think we are towards the end here, and I would like to sum it up with the hope that I hope we'll get will just be 8 of us for full experience.
Yes.
Besides everything you mentioned, which I think they have a lot of value, and
Yes.
I ask our friends to comment on what do they think. I understand that while hides may have their own purpose, I understand the difference in your point of philosophy, and I think that as wildlife photographers, I think it's important to experience everything, but also embrace the perspective that you share with respect. We're not only coming to photograph, we're coming to learn. We're going to learn about camera settings. We're going to learn post-processing. We're going to learn setting up environment situations where birds can come to us rather than us following the birds. Yes. We'll do the floating photography, the floating height photography. All of it's a huge learning experience. But in the end, though, what I love the most, maybe I want to be honest about this, is the friendship we share. I mean, throughout all of this time with you, for example, I've got so close, and because we connect so well, to me, it's been a true joy. And I think that's essence. That's the essence of everything. So I would invite at least 8 of us to enjoy this experience towards the end of May. Of course, for the details we can talk about later. There may be many questions, and that's fine. But please, let's get together. Let's have an amazing experience that we can share. And let's, I think it will be one of those things that it will stay with us forever. And I think that's amazing.
Thank you for this interview again, Yatmir.
Absolutely. All the best. We'll stay in touch until the next time.
Okay, stay in touch.
All the best.
See you.